Menopausal moodiness and irritability can affect your life and relationships drastically. Let's talk about how to treat menopausal mood swings. While there are more than 40 symptoms associated with menopause, the top 5 are hot flashes, insomnia, weight gain, mood swings, and low libido. Today we're going to talk about mood swings. Moodiness is when your moods, your level of happiness, irritability, anger is excessive to the situation. Most women have experienced this sometimes in their life, usually related to PMS. Being a woman is like being on a hormonal roller coaster. During our reproductive years, we may suddenly feel exceptionally sad, depressed, anxious, irritable, and just a day later, a week later, we feel completely different because we're in a different part of our cycle. But when you begin perimenopause, you're going to start noticing that your moods are swinging more dramatically. For some women, it's mostly a kind of sadness, an unusual depression, a lack of motivation. For a lot of women, it's rageful irritability. And for some women, it's a chronic angsty anxiety. Menopausal moodiness is different for everyone, and some women may have all three. During perimenopause, it seems like your PMS is getting worse and it's lasting longer, and it doesn't go away once you start your period. So what's causing this? Well, your hormones affect your brain chemistry. Estrogen promotes serotonin production, progesterone promotes GABA production, and testosterone promotes dopamine production. So when your hormones are out of balance, it affects the way your brain functions and it affects your moods. Your hypothalamus is the gatekeeper for your neurotransmitters that control your moods. And that's because your moods are definitely related to your survival. You need to know when to be anxious and actually have a life-saving stress response. It's your hypothalamus that instigates the bonding hormone oxytocin that's produced between lovers and produced by mothers as they cuddle their newborns. Your hypothalamus controls how we socialize, how we bond, how we interact with others and nature by controlling our brain chemistry so that we can actually be safe and survive in this world. And our hormones affect the production of our neurotransmitters. And as our hormones decline during the change of life, those neurotransmitters are not produced in adequate amounts to keep our moods stable. So if you already have a mood disorder, depression, anxiety, if you're bipolar, if you had postpartum depression, you're more likely to have issues during perimenopause and menopause. It's not unusual for your mood disorder to get worse because your hormones are depleted during this change. How do you know if you're experiencing menopausal-related moodiness? Well, your moods will be extreme, and they will not get better with your period if you're perimenopausal. You may not even notice how bad your mood swings are. Sometimes it's your partner or family who are the first ones to notice your mood swings and that it's just not the normal you. That's what happened to me. At the age of 49, I began perimenopause. I still had periods, no weight gain. I felt great, except my level of happiness plummeted. I was exceptionally irritable, and I couldn't seem to shake off my own moodiness. Still, I didn't realize how much I was struggling until one day my husband sat me down, held my hands, and asked, if you were your own patient, wouldn't you offer yourself some hormones? Well, taking Genesis Gold put off perimenopause for about 5 to 7 years later than my younger sisters had it. And I didn't go through actual menopause until I was 58, 2 years later than my mother. And being a lifelong athlete, I just didn't have enough body fat for adequate estrogen reserve, so I had to consider bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. Now, we talk a lot about the best ways to deal with your mood swings in our hormone support group, which you can access by joining our hormone reboot training. Treatment options for menopausal moodiness include hormone replacement therapy. It's one of your best treatment options, not just bumping up your medications. Using hormones along with your medications you already may be taking is possible, but you need to talk with your healthcare provider. Bioidentical hormone replacement therapy can help a lot in trying to get your moods in balance, but without balancing your hypothalamus, you'll have to use more and more hormones to stay stable, and that's not safe in the long run. So it's best to balance your hypothalamus, whether you choose to use bioidentical hormone replacement therapy or not. When your hypothalamus is functioning optimally, your moods are much more stable, you're not nearly as anxious, you're not nearly as depressed, and you don't go into a rage. You're responding effectively for whatever situation you're facing, and that's because your hypothalamus is not so dysregulated by your low hormone levels. If you combine hypothalamic balancing with bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, you can use a lot less hormones and you're going to be much more in balance. Or if you can't take hormone replacement therapy, then balancing your hypothalamus is key to stabilizing your moods. So again, I love to use my Genesis Gold for hypothalamic balancing. And for more severe cases, like those who have a history of postpartum depression or mood disorders, I'll add some extra sacred 7 amino acids to their Genesis Gold to give them those extra hypothalamic support. It's just so important to keep your hypothalamus healthy and happy. It controls everything, including your moods. Now, see you in my next video on more menopausal symptoms.